Welcome to my Makerspace video. This video is a Makerspace plan that I did for our school. And our school has recently had this space become available, and it's about 80 feet long, about 30 feet wide, which is awesome. It might actually be a little bit bigger. I was trying to find some plans, and it's the best estimation I could get. It's a big rectangular open space. There are no beams or anything in it, so it's designed to be a big open space. And it actually really has bathrooms right over here, a nice office space for whoever would manage this makerspace, an external door over here, which is really neat, and then the main entrance over here, which comes from the rest of the building that this is a part of. And what I wanted to highlight here in this 2D floor plan view, and then I'll take you through a 3D walkthrough, is that this whole space over here is kind of a design planning tabletop project space and electronic space. So this would be if students were working on circuitry and coding and anything like that. We then have a 3D printing area over here with some 3D printers, some alternative tables, and then several flex construction areas, and finally a textile and sewing area over here. We'll talk as we do the walkthrough. You'll kind of hopefully get a feel for how the space is designed to have these walls that go floor to ceiling, but they don't go wall to wall in the space, so they don't create closed off rooms. You can get to each space on either side, and that was very intentional because I feel like as makerspace, from what we've learned so far and what's been in a lot of our reading, is the collaborative aspect and the openness that makers have in sharing and building and sharing errors as well as successes. And so what I wanted to do was create something where there was no kind of private areas, if that makes sense. So it's very open and sharing idealized. So I'm going to go ahead and take us through a 3D walkthrough. So let me try to back up here. So here's the main entrance, and this will give us better view of this space. So as you first walk in here and you look to the right, you see a whole area, and this is all those little flex zone tables where students can work on designing. I couldn't get the online floor plan creator that I've used to do this to have whiteboards, but there'd be whiteboard spaces on all of these. This little floating wall over here would also have a whiteboard on it, and as with these. And you can see in here, our school, the biggest class sizes that we allow are 24 students, although that's kind of more rare to have them that big. But that's kind of how many, seating options there are here. I've also kind of put some other seating because I think that some students like to work in a much more casual environment. There's also these kind of rolling storage cubes that I think could be spaces for students to be able to keep projects that are small enough, kind of tabletop projects that would fit into these. Something else here that I've tried to include is very specifically placed lighting and circulation, because I think that's actually very important in a good learning environment and a good design environment. And then also, the space currently doesn't have any windows, but I think that's very important to have a lot of natural light. So if we keep walking through this space here, what we'd see is over here, this is the kind of 3D printing space. These would be the smaller 3D printers over here, and perhaps a much larger one could be over here for bigger projects. Also alternative tabletop space for students to work. Then further down, as you kind of walk along this path, if you kind of look to the right here, you'd see these kind of flex areas where students could work, and these workbenches with cabinets would have power tools and all sorts of other kind of tools that they could use. A lot more open space where these are not really tabletop projects, or they're projects that are going to require a lot more work and space. And there's some more spaces over here And then if you continue down this hallway, this is one of my favorite spots because it also has floor drains, so that if students are doing painting or any sort of design with that you want to hose down or anything like that, that's kind of a neat, again, dedicated lighting and open space. This would be to the outside. And then if we turn back around and we head down this corridor over here, there's a couple wash-up sinks over here. I think that's pretty helpful. And then this little corner is kind of neat. This is a textile and sewing area, and I think that's a piece of some of the maker spaces that we researched online that I thought was really neat, and a couple of them had that kind of dedicated spaces for textiles. And so there's a large cutting table here, again, dedicated lighting, and these sewing machines maybe would be along here, overlockers or sergers, and again, cabinet space for other tools and things that would be more related to sewing. And then if you kind of turn around, and this is a big part of this, so I'm going to go out here. This would be the makerspace office. Whoever would be in charge of the makerspace would maybe work in here. And one of the design elements was that the teacher could look down and see into every working space, with the exception of this space back here, which was the which was over here. And I think that that's one of the nice things about this. I know that when there's a lot of variation and differentiation in what students are doing, it's nice to be able to see them all, and I think that that's a big part. Another thing that was important in several of the maker spaces that we researched was that there would be a way to exhibit and to share work. So along this whole wall here, I thought what could be cool is, obviously as things grow and you'd be able to put more equipment along here, you can also use this to display images and maybe timelines of student work. But one of the things that I put into this design was that if you had, say, other students come walk through here, as you walk through, the process is actually the exhibit. And to me, that was really important. So as you walk down through here, you'd be watching and seeing the process of what students were making. And so the whole room is designed as an exhibit almost unto itself, which is kind of one of the things I wanted to do. Another thing that would need to be here is also some locker space, so that you could put projects in that were not being used at that particular time. But I think one of the big things for me with this space is that right next door in our school, you'd be able to connect through here to the big robotics lab, and that's where they have a lathe and laser cutters and all that kind of thing. So in my makerspace here, you notice that those huge tools are missing, because we do actually already have those. So this would be more dedicated space to doing other projects that are not robotics related, but the robotics directors are very open to allowing us to use those things with the correct training. And so that is my makerspace, and I look forward to any feedback that you may have.